Having a really strong website is arguably one of the most important things you can do for your business, regardless of the niche. I don't care if you sell info. I don't care if you run a local business. I don't care if you're in the fundraising space. In today's video, we're going to break down why websites are so important, what makes a bad website and what you're probably doing wrong on your current website today, and then what actually makes a good website. So number one, why are websites important? When someone hears about you, I don't care if it's from an ad, I don't care if it's from a referral, I don't care if it's your best friend. What is the number one thing they're going to do? They're going to look you up. And so what is the number one thing that you need to have in front of them for them to see? Your website. So why is it that a lot of people don't take it as seriously as they need to, or they overcomplicate the living hell out of it? The reason a website is so important is not just to present yourself as a business online, but it's to communicate who you are, what you sell, and why somebody should buy from you versus everybody else. Your website is essentially the core sales argument of your entire business. If you've ever watched the copywriting video on our channel, where we break down the core sales document or the core copywriting document, I forget what we call it, that explains everything you need to know about your business. Your website is the same exact place. And so making sure that your website is really, really dialed in from a messaging perspective, from the images and visuals, from a brand perspective, from the ease of navigation perspective, every single component of your website needs to be really dialed in order for you to convert prospects efficiently and effectively. I want you to think about your customer's journey a little bit like this, and I've explained this in other videos. Let's say they come from an ad. The likelihood of them going from an ad to converting to ad dollars is very slim, especially in today's day and age. Back in 2013, yeah, you could get away with that. Now it's not happening. What ends up occurring is people go from an ad, and let's say you want to make money over here, they'll go from an ad to maybe YouTube, and then they'll go to Instagram, and then they'll go to your website, and then they'll go to maybe like Reddit, and then maybe they'll go back to your ad, and then they'll go to the money. And what happens is they're hitting all these different waypoints before actually giving you money. A website is arguably the most important component of all of this for one singular reason. And like for one single reason that I mentioned just a few seconds ago, it centralizes your message. On your website, you're able to put your YouTube content, you're able to put your Instagram content, you're able to put blogs, you're able to put all of the funnels that you're currently running. And so that is why it is so important. It is the foundation. And the worst is when you go to somebody's website or you see good reviews, you click their website and it's just ugly. It's just, you don't know how to navigate it. It doesn't look professional. It looks like it was built back in 2006. It's a huge, huge problem. And so this leads me into the second part of this video. What actually makes a bad website? I was talking to a good friend of mine today and he was asking me for advice in some different marketing channel. And he said, I quote word for word, what is the, I think it was like efficacy of this thing? And I had to stop and go, look, to be honest, I don't know what that word even means. Like, why are we using big words right now? What does that mean? And he said, he switched, he's like, oh, like efficiency, effectiveness. It's like, okay, why didn't we say that from day one? And that explains the core problem I see with pretty much every website on the internet is because you run a business, to some degree, your ego is tied to this. This is your baby. This is how I feel about my business. My ego is tied to it. When my business contracts, I freak the fuck out. I recently gave my buddies an Instagram account to run that I used to run. They deleted all my old posts. My ego is tied to that, right? That was my baby. So I flared up and I got all annoyed. So I don't mean to come at you here, but in a lot of cases, your website is way too overcomplicated. You have too much shit on there and the language you use makes no sense to anybody but you. The number one rule of marketing, you must assume that your buyers are idiots. You must assume that your buyers have no prior context and your website needs to reflect that. And so the way that we do this, number one, is speak in a fourth grade reading level. This is the number one thing you can do today to immediately increase your website's conversion rate. Is just take everything you've got on the page, make it fourth grade reading level. The most interesting stat I've ever heard is that every president that has ever won the election has spoken in a lower grade level. You can look it up. That's the number one thing you need to do. Make sure you're speaking in an elementary grade level. The second thing you need to do is put yourself in your consumer or your ICP's shoes. The number one problem we see when observing and auditing websites is it is very focused around what you sell. This can manifest itself in a couple of ways. I offer this, buy one, get one free, 50% off. Check this out, check that out. We do all this fancy stuff. Yet you fail to mention what doing all the fancy stuff even gets you. Because personally, I could care less. For example, I could care less that you hand make your handbags or that you have 50 plus years in the business. All I care about is can you get me the result, a really good result in the time period I'm looking to get it done. That's it. Yet majority of websites that I audit lack that one trait of what does the viewer actually get. And so that would be the second thing. And again, we'll dive into this a little bit further as we move along in the video. But that's the second thing is you don't put yourself in your consumer's shoes. The third thing, and this is arguably the biggest problem we see, is you overcomplicate the living shit out of your website. So what does this actually look like? Well, what happens is you get a site, and let's just say this is your navigation bar at the top. You'll have like 60 different things up here. What this does is this creates a problem that we call decision fatigue, meaning person A goes here, then they go here, then they go here, then they go here. And by the time they've hit their fourth little navigation thing, they forgot why they were on the site in the first place. We want to limit that. Humans can barely handle more than 3 decisions at a time. And so our website needs to reflect that. 3 decisions, that's it. And so this brings me to the next part of this, which is what actually makes a good website. And it is way simpler than most people realize. Now, before we get into what makes a good website, I want to actually reframe your mind in terms of how you think about websites. And this is coming directly from Russell Brunson, the owner of ClickFunnels. I want you to think of your website as what we call a funnel hub, meaning every single thing on that website needs to point to a specific action. It does not need to be all about your business and you and what you do. It needs to point to getting the person on the page to take an action, just like you would a funnel. And so if we break out your website, let's say you have a homepage, let's say you have an about page. Again, everything will change by business. If you want to learn more, you can book a call below, learn a little bit about what that looks like. There's gonna be a link in the description. But let's say homepage, about page, and maybe like a services page or an investment offerings page, just depends on the type of business you run. All of these, traditionally, people would say, okay, on the homepage, there's gonna be a little contact form. On the about page, we're gonna have a link to the homepage. And then the service page, we're gonna have all of our services. And you've got like 60 different decisions across 30 different pages. What we wanna do instead of all this is just take everybody that's on these sites, homepage, about page, service page, and push them to one funnel. This can be a call funnel. This can be a webinar. I don't really care what it is. Maybe you do too. We have a client where we run to a webinar and we run to a call funnel. That's totally fine. The key to this though is, what do you want somebody to do when they hit your website? You want them to take an action that moves them closer to buying. That's it. And so that is what we want to make sure that we're doing, is every single action on the page pushes somebody further along the conversion pipeline. The other thing you may do, depending, and you'll see this on our website, is embed content that nurtures, and then guess what? Pushes them right back over here. And so no matter what the action is, everything needs to route down to one decision point. And that is the key thing when developing any website. And it's where we see majority of people go wrong. A great example of this is specifically in the fundraising and capital raising space, where an individual or a fund will make a website and it'll be great. The problem is they don't give them a way to take action anywhere except a silly little contact form. And a contact form I hate because nobody ever acts on this. This doesn't give them emails half the time. This doesn't send them to content. This doesn't push them to a funnel. It's just some stupid little form where you collect info and then hope to God that your sales team responds fast enough. It is wasted space. Whereas if you push somebody to a live event or to a video breakdown of the offering and what they're looking for on a VSL call funnel, and then you give an option to apply at the event or on the funnel itself, this now nurtures and warms them up so that this contact form, or in this case, an application straight to a booking page, converts a lot higher. And so that's the key principle there. The second one, and we'll go back to the fund example that I really want to emphasize, is what does putting yourself in your consumer's shoes actually look like? When building any type of website, you need to be thinking about, what is the one action that I want the individual that hits the page to take? As soon as I understand that, what I'm then going to do is structure my website in a way to push them further towards the sale. The way that we do this is by creating a very solid and sound sales argument. And what we're going to do is structure this in a way to overcome objections as they move down the funnel. And so at the top, what we're going to be trying to do is take advantage of the most emotional buyers. Towards the bottom, we begin to speak to more logical buyers. That's it. And what we're doing along the way is we're saying, oh, maybe we get Tim here, we get Johnny here, we get Susan here, then we get Lori here, you know? And along the way, we're collecting dollars because we're able to say, okay, we sold them on this, on this, on this, on this. You know, maybe Johnny was just ready to buy, so he bought. Maybe Susie needed, testimonials. Maybe they needed how it worked. Maybe they needed like objection overcomes. And so your website needs to move in the same way. Back to the fund example, what we typically see wrong with pretty much all funds is all they talk about is the investment vehicle, but never what the vehicle does for the limited partner, or never even presents the idea that you can invest with them, which I find the most interesting part. Is you'll hop on their website and they'll assume you know that they're looking for capital. Be like 20% IRR, blah, 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 blah. You have all these stats. You have PDF breakdowns of the offering, but you never directly say, hey, we're actually raising right now if you want to. And then guess what you do? We go back to this component over here. You push back to a page with a video and an application where they can learn more about the offering in video format. That's the second part that's extremely important, is the actual sales argument and making sure to put yourself in your consumer's shoes. The last part to a website that I think a lot of people miss is, if you go on majority of outdated websites, what you'll see is a lot of text and a lot of images, and you'll expect people to read and go through it all. You need to be speaking to all different types of consumption. So not just the people that read, not just the visual learners, but also the auditory learners, by adding things like video into the mix. If you go on my website, again, you can click the link below, you can book call the team to learn a little bit more about what we do and how we can help you with your website and your digital marketing presence. If you go to our website, there's videos all over the page. Why is that? Because personally, I don't read shit. I just like to watch the videos. See what's up. If I want to book, I book. If I don't, I don't. That's it. I may read the headers, but I'm not reading all the bulleted text. Some people do, so you throw that in there. But what you need to be doing with the website is addressing every single type of buyer that you can run into. And we do that by making sure to have a bunch of text, a bunch of images, and a bunch of videos that follow this type of sales argument throughout the page. And so when it comes to building websites, there's a ton more I could talk about, like how to structure page, wireframes, planning, copywriting, and we can spend all day long. But at the end of the day, there are three core principles that you need to apply with your website. Keep it simple. Make sure that you're speaking to all different types of consumption methods: text, image, video, auditory, you name it. If you could put smell on a website, we put smell in there. And then the last one is just to make sure that it's congruent with your entire business as a whole. Make sure the brand lines up, make sure the domains line up, make sure the message you're using lines up, make sure it represents you well, because your website is your digital storefront today. And especially for a lot of the funds out there, I highly encourage you to look at your website, see if you can simplify it, see if you can improve the language. And like I said, if you're curious to learn more, there's a link below. You can book, speak to myself, remember the team. But again, those are like the key pillars of all of this. And like I mentioned before, it feeds into the rest of the conversion process. If you have a great YouTube channel, great Instagram, and a horrible website, you will lose buyers because of it. I guarantee it. So I hope that helped. If you want more content like this, hit that subscribe button, like the video, drop a comment, we'll let you want to see next, and I will talk to you in the next one.